SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Treasurer David McRae has returned more unclaimed money to Mississippians than all previous state treasurers combined. More than $170 million back in the hands of households, businesses, churches, and nonprofits. Treasurer McRae is on a roll, and he's not letting up. Search for and claim your money today. Treasury.ms.gov.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning and welcome in. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us, for starting your day with us. Mornings is presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. It is wonderful to be back with you after a week away and energized and refreshed. And I was thinking about that late last week. I was like, man, the break has been wonderful. It's going to be nice to get back as well. And we got a bunch to get to as we begin what is going to be a busy week that is going to include a couple of days at the Neshoba County Fair, including Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Look forward to being back at Mississippi's Giant House Party alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Lance, good morning, stranger.
Welcome back, my buddy. What's going on?
Thank you.
Yeah. I know you've had you a nice little romp around the country. Hope it was fun, and you and the wife had a great anniversary, all that good stuff.
Yeah, technically, anniversary is a month from today, July 22nd. That will be our 20th wedding anniversary. But between stuff that we've got going on and stuff that kids are doing, last week was the time that it worked on the calendar for us to get away for a few days. And, man, we did that. And I don't remember a trip that we have ever taken where it was more low-key. We didn't really do anything. It was beach and food, and that was about it. So
that sounds refreshing.
It was, and that is not really my tendency to sit still. And we talked about, hey, do we want to go fishing, or do we want to go snorkeling, or do we want to go do this or that? I was like, I think we can just kind of sit here for a little while longer, and that's what we did, and it was great. Really just kind of unplugged and slowed down for a few days, and that was nice, and it was good to get back. And happy Father's Day, everyone. Hope you were able to spend some time with your dad or somebody that has been like a dad to you over the weekend. I know you and your pops are close, Lance. I'm assuming that somewhere along the course of the weekend you went and gave him a noogie or said, hey, pal, good to see you.
Oh, yeah, we had a 4 o'clock supper at Outback on Friday. So, yeah, I think we were getting there about the same time the help was getting there. Had a wonderful time.
There you
Food
go.
was good. I got to hang with the sister, brother-in-law, and the niece and nephew, and Pops had a great time. And we put on a bet yesterday. He's been on this, there's no way Oklahoma's going to beat North Carolina. And when Oklahoma jumped out 2-0 yesterday, I said, this is it. Today's the day. Well, what happened. So we've got a bet on who's going to win it, and Jerry's Catfish is riding on that.
Okay.
So, I said, you set the bet, Dad. What do you want to do? He goes, how about some more of that catfish?
There you go.
Let's do that, yeah.
I like it. I know that some of you are having some issues if you're listening on a radio station this morning, trying to work through those and get them up and rolling as quickly as you can. Jerry in Pontotoc says, Richard, it took you a whole week to recover from Ole Miss being first team out of the College World Series. Not quite a whole week. Not quite a whole week. Of course, my team was in the College World Series.
You got to get there.
Which is pretty cool. There are only 8 teams in the entire country that get to go to Omaha. Just saying. Mo says, early congratulations on 20 years, Richard. My wife and I are at 46. Man, congratulations to you. That's incredible. That is incredible. Thank you. 20 feels like a pretty significant milestone, and we are thrilled. What about the weather today? Man, let's hope that it's better than it was last week, huh? Batesville, you've got thunderstorms this morning, variable clouds this afternoon with a chance of showers. Storms this morning may contain strong and gusty winds. High temperature today of 81 degrees with winds out of the west and southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour, an 80% chance of rain. Perhaps as much as an inch of rainfall with a low tonight of 68 in Batesville. Ackerman, variable clouds and thunderstorms, especially this afternoon. Storms may have some of those strong gusty winds, 84 degrees for your high winds out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, 70% chance of rain. Humidity today in Ackerman kicking in at 90%. Overnight low of 70. Southwest Mississippi, Natchez, you've got cloudy skies early, partly cloudy this afternoon with a high around 90. Winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, going to become cloudy overnight with a low around 75 and breezy. Bay St. Louis, partly cloudy for you with a high around 90 today. Winds 10 to 15 out of the south and southwest. Partly cloudy skies this evening, becoming more cloudy overnight. 79 for your low. And until noon today, is that right? Noon, maybe 1 o'clock today, a flood warning remains in effect for the Pearl River area. At 17 feet, when the river is falling, the water on low-lying property and over the lower portions of streets in the River Gardens subdivision will slowly begin to drain. As of, about 20 hours ago, so 10 o'clock yesterday morning, Pearl River stage was at 17 feet. That is the bank full stage, that's beyond the bank full stage. So it's full within the banks at 12 feet. Yesterday it was at 17 feet. Maximum river stage over the previous 24 hours was 17.1 feet. River has crested and is expected to gradually fall below flood stage by a week from today. Flood stage 14 feet. The last time it was this high in the Pearl River in, I guess that's in Pearl River County, was February 6th of 1983. Man, it was a mess this weekend and late last week, Lance. Whew.
Well, I'm passing over the Pearl River every day. You just keep seeing it creep up and up and up, and you're like, oh, come on, rain. You got to slow down on us here.
Yeah. Am I right? When we're talking about the Pearl River, near Pearl River, we're talking South Mississippi,
way
not
south,
Pearl
yeah.
River where you are.
Yeah, that's my point, is up here, it just keeps swelling and swelling, and it's going south, and it will definitely get over those banks, but you definitely don't want the Pearl to get out of hand, just like the Mississippi. That stuff starts backing up, and it creates havoc, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Just hoping the Mississippi River stays within its boundaries as well. Don't need any flooding.
No doubt. Meryl Streep was born on this day in 1949, the acclaimed actress with a record 21 Oscar nominations, 3 of those victories. She's known for roles in movies like The Devil Wears Prada, Sophie's Choice, and Kramer versus Kramer. One of the great all-time film actresses, Meryl Streep. Cyndi Lauper just wants to have fun. She was born on this day in 1953. Time after time, girls just want to have fun.
You're ringing out the hits.
Mm-hmm. Won a Grammy and an Emmy. Chris Christopherson No longer with us, but born on this day in 1936. Former Army pilot, singer-songwriter, country music fan, me and Bobby McGee. Star in the film A Star is Born, the great Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, another good one is Semi-Tough with Burt Reynolds. It was an excellent movie. They're semi-pro football players.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
How many different football movies was Burt Reynolds in?
Oh, man. I mean, he had to be holding the record at the time.
You would think.
Probably still does.
Cat that has sold a bunch of books, Dan Brown. Born on this day in 1964. The Da Vinci Code and other thrillers with Robert Langdon as the main character. Sold over 200 million copies worldwide. Carson Daly, born on this day in 1973, the television host, producer, and former MTV VJ. Longtime host of The Voice and Last Call with Carson Daly. Carl Hubble was born on this day in 1903, the Baseball Hall of Famer, famous for his screwball. Paul Morphy, American chess prodigy from New Orleans, widely regarded as the greatest chess player of his generation. He was born in 1837. More coming up with you. Just getting started. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
Good morning from the bank.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was lying on the grass a Sunday morning of last week, indulging in my self-defeat. My mind was thugged, all laced and bugged, all twisted, wrong and beat. Uncomfortable, 3 feet deep. Now
There's a lot going on in the United States. There's a lot going on in Mississippi. There is a lot happening around the world, and we are going to try to touch on all of those things this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Friends, the C Spire text line is open to you, and I'd love to hear from you. 601-879-4395. C Spire is customer inspired. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to be back after a week away. This day well, I got one more birthday for you, because we'll get to something that happened historically with this as well. John Dillinger, the notorious American bank robber and Depression-era outlaw, was born on this day in 1903. John Dillinger, not a good dude. Not a good dude. So we skip ahead to this day in history. It was this day in 1934 when John Dillinger was named America's first public enemy number one. Generally speaking, being at the top of the list where federal law enforcement is trying to track you down, chase you down, not a place you want to be.
No. Well, I mean, I think the rumor was, and record is 24 banks and 4 police stations. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be pretty ballsy when you go out and rob 4 police stations.
Probably should have stuck with the banks. Might have lived beyond 1934, which was when Dillinger died. Today in 1941, Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union during World War II. At the time, it was the largest military operation in history. In 1940, France signed an armistice with Nazi Germany after the Battle of France, leading to the establishment of Vichy France. Got to rewind a little farther. 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte abdicated the throne for the second time after his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo.
It threw him out there 1,000 miles off the African coast this go around.
Yeah.
The Elba deal didn't work out too well.
Hard to come back from that, isn't it?
They had him under constant surveillance to the governor of the island, which was not a big place, had to kind of keep a daily eye on him. I knew that was a fun job. It's like, how did I get sent to this place?
It was 1986 when Diego Maradona scored his infamous Hand of God goal. Later, the goal of the century as Argentina defeated England in the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals. That was in 1986. In 1870, the United States Congress created the Department of Justice. 1633, that was when Galileo was forced by the Catholic Church to recant his heliocentric view of the universe. That was the view that the sun was in the middle.
And he's like, I told you. Nowadays, he's like, told you so.
Yeah.
Kind of was right about that.
If you could have put Galileo and Marco Polo together, they would have been able to figure out the sun. Well, I guess he did. He knew. FDR signed the GI Bill on this day in 1944, providing benefits for World War II veterans. All right, let's thank you. C-Spire text line. Welcome back, Richard. Appreciate it very much. Says, no matter how great the vacation, there's still no place like home. Amen to that. Love traveling, love seeing different places. Always good to be home. There's no bed that feels quite like your own bed, is there?
Oh, no. Even if it's dirty sheets and the bed's not made up, it's still yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Mississippi has been at the forefront of economic success in recent years, and the state has been recognized for reeling in high-dollar projects with a Gold Shovel Award. The national award, presented by Area Development Magazines, honors Mississippi's major accomplishments in economic development through 2025. Additionally, Area Development named the $210 million Amazon project in Marshall County as one of its non-manufacturing projects of the year. I'm curious. Wouldn't you think that if you serve a reasonably good 8 years as governor of a state, I'm not saying that Tate Reeves is reasonably good. I think he's done an exceptionally good job in the role as governor. But even if you were just kind of good, you'd get a lot of awards over the course of 8 years. That would stand to reason, right?
Oh, yeah.
Plaques, trophies, mementos, and whatnot. Wonder where the golden shovel. Like at some point when you step away from office, you're going to have to sort through that stuff, and there's some that's not going to make it into the permanent pile. Like, man, I got to let go of this one. Wouldn't you think the golden shovel is one that gets kind of a permanent place on the wall? Just because of its uniqueness?
Yeah, unless you have like financial hard times. You don't want to melt those babies down. I mean, you want to keep that up there.
Oh, you think it's like a gold shovel?
Better be if it's...
If it's a national award, they maybe should pull out all the stops. I was just kind of assuming that it was a cool, like, spray-painted shovel. Maybe not.
I want the real deal.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree on that front. The projects for Mississippi. Yeah, like a nice walnut handle as opposed to just your kind of stock handle that's going to get splinters in your hands.
You get a nice piece of teak wood, imported from South
teak.
America. Yeah.
Yes, check out my golden teak shovel. You got the $210 million project in Marshall County for Amazon. $237 million for Howard Industries. $38 million for Modine. Is it Modine or Modine in Grenada County? $21 million, Yancey Engineered Solutions in Batesville. Amick Farms in Laurel, $75 million. ABB in Senatobia, $40 million. Southeastern Timber Products in Ackerman, $123 million. Ergon Refining in Vicksburg, $400 million. BWC Terminals in Pascagoula, $316 million. The list goes on and on. Just outstanding deal. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. A father and two of his sons are behind bars in connection with the shooting death of a Mississippi teenager. This one's yucky. The Claiborne County Sheriff's Office reports that Rackham Townsend and Camelo Hedrick are charged with murder for the death of 17-year-old Dwayne Amanian Hedrick. The suspect's father, Bernard Townsend, is charged with accessory after the fact and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Gunfire at Hines Street and Tillman Road near the Bikini Lounge in Paterson. Can't make that up. On Thursday afternoon, deputies arrived at the scene. Victim was found suffering from gunshot wounds, later pronounced dead. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation helped local officials track down the suspects. Motive not announced. The law enforcement officials are still investigating. Additional charges against the suspects are possible. So 2 charged with murder, 1 with the same last name as the victim, and the suspect's father gets accessory. Driving the getaway car? Providing the guns? Hey. One more for you. The IHL, and by the way, the IHL meeting last week, created some news. We will talk more about that in the days to come. The hearing was 2.5 hours, and I have not had a chance to watch all of it yet. I promise discussion coming forward on that. But IHL voted unanimously last Thursday to allow UMMC to take control of Greenwood LaFour Hospital, potentially providing a lifeline to the medical facility that's been at the heart of the state's healthcare crisis. So IHL, who oversees UMMC, said, yes, you can take over GLH. However, GLH still needs the Department of Medicaid to say you don't have to pay this money right now. And if Medicaid, who is trying to get a judge to make GLH repay money that they were overpaid, if a judge agrees with the Department of Medicaid, that may blow up the whole deal with UMMC. And if GLH gets relief through bankruptcy like they've been asking and they don't have to pay the money right back, then the deal will go through. Got it all? Clear as mud. Mornings with Richard Cross. Back after this.
From the Seabrook.com. Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Monday morning, June 22nd. We are 1 day removed from the longest daylight day on the calendar. June 21st, the summer solstice. Saw someone on Facebook, I think it was Sparky Reardon, that posted early yesterday morning in a way that only he can. It's going to be a long day. The longest, actually. And now we march downhill toward the inevitable time change. Dark when we come on the air in the morning. Dark when Borky and Haydad finish up in the afternoons. Time marches on. Pleasure to be with you. Mornings presented by Community Bank. It's time right now for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is your home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. My guests, a bunch of you making your way to Pearl River Resort over these 10 days or so that have started a couple of days ago and go through this weekend while you are at the Neshoba County Fair. Perhaps a trip or two to the blackjack table. Maybe a trip to Philip M's for a steak dinner and some air condition. Maybe a trip to the water park, Geyser Falls, to cool off. Maybe a trip to Dancing Rabbit. Since we have last visited, I got the chance to visit with our friends at Pearl River Resort, including with Chief Cyrus Ben, who's got a pretty good golf swing, by the way. That was at Steve Azar's golf tournament a couple of weeks ago, or a week and a half ago now, I guess, in Greenville. A lot of fun there. College World Series and the college baseball season, if the weather cooperates, will come to an end tonight. That's thanks to UNC finally cooling off Oklahoma's bats yesterday. Ryan Lynch and Caden Glauber cooled off the Sooners' red-hot bats. Owen Hull and Cooper Nicholson both had home runs, and North Carolina beat Oklahoma 6-2 in Game 2 of the College World Series Finals yesterday afternoon. The Tar Heels moved to 54-13-1 on the year. They have not lost consecutive games since early March. They bounced back from a 9-3 loss in Game 1 to force a winner-take-all game tonight. The Sooners jumped out to an early lead, and it looked like right out of the gate, their young, fantastic starting pitcher, Mercurius, struck out 6 of the first 7. The Sooners put a couple of runs on the board in the first. Guys on the broadcast were talking about North Carolina already going to the bullpen, but then things settled in. 2 runs in the first inning, no more the rest of the way. They had 2 hits and 5 total base runners for the remainder of the game. OU had been averaging 9.5 runs per game in the postseason, a little better than 8 runs per game in the College World Series. It was the fewest runs they had scored since May 19th in a loss to LSU. They were held scoreless over 8 straight innings. First time that had happened since March 17th. Who you got tonight? You're on the OU train.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier,
there's
I had Ole Miss and OU playing in the finals. Ole Miss got put out, but OU did make it, so I got to stick with the SEC here. And go with OU, but I mean, man, Caleb Glauber, that kid is something else. So the statistic that he was 29-0 when he pitches UNC.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing to me is somebody that coached a little bit. I mean, that's on both the coaches and him. I mean, somebody's making great decisions on when to put him in, and the kid gets out there and gets it done too. So, tip of the cap to those guys. That's an amazing stat. I've never seen one like that.
29-0 in games in which he pitches. And he's 13-0 now on the year?
Yeah, I think so.
12-0 or 13-0?
Thought he was 12-0 going into that, but I mean, as a freshman too, he's fun to watch. I mean,
yes, he was 12-0 going into yesterday. Let's see, did he get the win? Yeah, he got the win. So he it says he moved to 12-0.
Okay, I thought he was 12-0 coming in, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean,
no.
I just wanted to say, I mean, as a guy that pitched, that's a remarkable accomplishment, and again, the coaches have a lot to do with being 29-0 when you throw a freshman in there.
Yeah, real good. The first full Saturday of the college football season is September 5th. That is 75 days from today. It gets kind of weird when you start doing the countdown because you're like, okay, what are we counting down to? I mean, if you want to count down to week 0, which is actually week 1, it's just stretched out over 2 weeks, then you're 68 days away from the college football season. North Carolina and TCU will get us started in Dublin, Ireland.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good morning to you.
NC State and Virginia were supposed to play in Brazil. Instead, they're going to play in Charlottesville. That game will be on ESPN that afternoon.
Brazil, huh?
Yeah, there was going to be a Brazil game. Didn't work out. Memphis and UNLV will play on that opening Saturday. And then you get to the September 5th games, and you got a ton of those. And then you'll have on Sunday, September 6th, actually have 3 games that are being played that day. Washington State, Washington is at 3 o'clock on NBC. Louisville, Ole Miss at 6:30 on ABC, and Wisconsin, Notre Dame at 6:30 on NBC. That Ole Miss Louisville game's in Nashville. And then you'll get SMU and Florida State on Labor Day night. That's Monday, September 7th. So, it'll be here quickly. PGA Championship, not the PGA Championship. That was a month ago. U.S. Open, yesterday. The most unpopular American winner of America's national championship perhaps ever. Boy, it was rough for Wyndham Clark. Fans were not for him yesterday. But he got it done. Wire-to-wire winner at the U.S. Open. Wyndham Clark, he became the 9th player all-time to lead the tournament from its opening round through its final. Shot a closing round 3 over 73, but he had a big lead. His lead at one point shrank to just 1. He was at 4 under. Sam Burns was at 3 under. Burns missed birdie putts on 17 and 18. Clark took control and was able to get it done at the end. Had some really difficult shots that he made down the stretch. He joins a pretty good group to win it wire to wire. Walter Hagen, Jim Barnes, Ben Hogan, Tony Jacklin, Tiger Woods twice, Rory in 2011, Martin Keimer in 2014, and now Wyndham Clark. So,
this dude is a trip. Wyndham Clark.
Yeah,
a little bit of a temper.
Yeah, it seems to have been working hard on that.
Jack Nicholson was involved, maybe. Anger management. Goosefraba.
World Cup is continuing to roll, and the United States counting down the days until it will play again in what some people are saying is a meaningless game. They have already won their group, and their round of 32 knockout game will be on July 1st. ESPN has updated its World Cup power rankings. They've moved France up a spot to number 1, England up a couple of spots to number 2. Argentina is at 3, Spain is at 4, Germany 5, Brazil 6. That's down a spot. Morocco's bumped up a couple of spots. The United States checking in at number 9. They weren't even in the World Cup power rankings when they first came out. But they have been real good so far with wins over Paraguay and Australia. And they will play Turkey coming up on Thursday in Los Angeles.
You got a little War of the Roses at the top, huh?
Yeah. How's it going to play out?
The House of Lancaster versus the House of York. I mean, the French are pretty good, man.
They are. Don't know if England will be affected by Keir Starmer announcing his resignation or not.
We'd be excited.
Yeah, perhaps.
Very motivated now.
Rallying the troops. So again, the next match for the United States is on Thursday. And if you can figure out who they're going to play on July 1st, good for you. It is the most confusing bracket in the history of sports brackets, but I'm assuming somebody knows what that's going to look like. 9 o'clock Central Time, I think, on Fox on Thursday night. It's either 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I can't remember how they've got the time zones.
And they get a lot of time off, too.
They do.
You got to kind of keep them corralled up. I mean, I imagine with this many, international teams here with that amount of time off, I mean, keeping them out of trouble that's a job.
Mm-hmm. Games that are happening today, Argentina and Austria are playing in Arlington. France and Iraq are playing in Philadelphia. Norway and Senegal at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. That's where the finals are going to be. Jordan and Algeria playing in Santa Clara, California. That's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online at pearlriverresort.com. We got your lottery update, and we will look ahead to what else is happening this morning when we come back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
Good morning.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Millions. It is time for your Mississippi Lottery update online at mslottery.com. Be sure to download the Mississippi Lottery app for free on your smartphone to keep up with all that is happening with the Mississippi Lottery. There was no jackpot winner for Powerball over the weekend, but a ticket that was purchased at Fast Stop 7 in Laurel matched 4 out of the 5 white balls and the Powerball to win $50,000. And a good dollar investment on that Power Play ticket. They got the Power Play add-on, and so the prize doubled from $50,000 to $100,000. The estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing, $312 million with an estimated cash value of $141,200,000. Mega Millions is up to $467 million. The estimated cash value on that one, $211 million, which means after taxes, you were walking away with well over $100 million in your pocket. Last week, the Lottery Claims Office paid out $612,770, while lottery retailers across the state, paid out nearly $4.5 million. Were you one of the winners? If so, congratulations. If not, you still got a chance. You've always got a chance, but you got to buy those tickets. By the way, Lotto America jackpot continues to grow. It's up to $30.28 million, the third largest jackpot in that game's history. A lot of chances to win with the Mississippi Lottery. You could win like a Brookhaven woman did, where she won the top prize of $200,000 on a ticket from City Mart #1 in Brookhaven. That was on a $10 Cash Fever scratch-off. How cool would that be?
Just winning's cool. I love winning.
Just
hate
winning
losing.
is cool. But, Lance, you grab the scratch-off,
Yeah.
and you're hopeful. But more times than not, when you grab a scratch-off, your real thought, or at least my real thought is, hey, maybe I'm going to win enough to get another ticket. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's a $2 win. Hey, that was a $20 win. Can you imagine scratching that bad boy and going, hold on a second, I just won $200,000?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Party time, man.
Party time.
Hey, I'd have that airboat.
Or bill paying time.
Well, I'd be buying me an airboat first. That'd be the first purchase. Like a 1960s, 70s range.
So you'd get
V12 in it.
120,000 or so after taxes on that?
Yeah.
Is that will that pay for the airboat?
Oh, yeah, man. I'd go get a used one. A lot of miles on it, a lot of gators caught.
Yeah. You want one that's got some good juju.
Oh, yeah. I want one like the brown and orange and red color scheme. Like a good old Southwest coloring from the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Good old Cajuns had it. He's caught everything in it. And he's like, man, I made so much money off this thing. It's time to upgrade.
There you go.
That's the one I want.
That's the one Lance wants. Mornings of Richard Cross is brought to you by Community. Try that one more time. Community Bank, I think is what we say. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. When you walk in, you're more than an account number, no matter what your banking needs are. At Community Bank, you'll talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your local neighborhood location. They're all over the state of Mississippi and beyond. Or learn more at communitybank.net. That's communitybank.net. Coming up, 7 o'clock hour, we will start things off by taking a look at some of the most recent news related to flooding in South Mississippi. The negotiations between U.S. and Iran are a little bumpy. Who could have seen that coming? Senator Jeremy England will join us in the 7 o'clock hour. The reflecting pool continues to be in the news in Washington, D.C., the 2,000-foot-long pool that sits between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. There is some news, some vandalism even related to the reflecting pool. JT Mitchell will join us coming up as he does on Mondays during the 8 o'clock hour. He's the news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team. I am curious as we look ahead this week. Wednesday and Thursday, we will be at the Neshoba County Fair. Back and better than ever with an earlier date. Good music lineup. We're going to be there at Founders Square Wednesday and Thursday, one of the biggest events of the year. You don't want to miss it. Our coverage of the Neshoba County Fair brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them the options. Coverage also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag, equipment that works as hard as the people running it. Is there going to be a theme in the speeches at the Neshoba County Fair this year? Or is it just going to be regular stump talk? I would imagine that the political rumor mill will be running wild at the Neshoba County Fair, and we can't wait for that. We'll bring it all to you coming up later this week. Mornings with Richard Cross, 7 o'clock hour on the way right after the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
There's a black man with a black cat, little black neighborhood. He's got an interstate running through his front yard. You know he thinks he's got it so good. And there's a woman.
7 o'clock hour. Glad to have you along for the ride. If you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us. It is great to be back with you this week after being away for a week. Some nice time with my wife and then time with the whole family, kids around this weekend. Hope you had a great Father's Day. And whether you were being celebrated by family or you were doing the celebrating of someone, or maybe it was a combination of the two. Hope it was a wonderful time. It was really fun yesterday for me to get to be with everybody, spend some time with Jane and the kids, and nothing crazy. Just being together is really nice sometimes. And if you are if Father's Day is a time that's just filled with memories for you, then I hope they were positive memories, good memories, and you were able to think back fondly on some time that was spent with your dad along the way. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. This 7 o'clock hour of the show is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. 601-206-7966 or online at mwgemployerservices.com. Much of the state of Mississippi, especially the southern part of the state of Mississippi, is continuing to deal with severe storms and major flooding that followed the remnants of Tropical Storm Arthur. You remember, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, Lance, where we said, kind of keeping an eye on the disturbance that is way off. Well, that disturbance made its way into the Gulf, and then it kind of took an eastern turn and just absolutely soaked and flooded parts of the southeastern United States. Governor Tate Reeves, in a social media post yesterday afternoon, said rivers and creeks are slowly receding, but spotty showers and storms remain in the forecast today, talking about yesterday. And then pointing to today's weather, he said central and north Mississippi will face threats of flooding and severe weather. State officials have reported damaged roads, flooded homes, and infrastructure issues across several counties in the southern part of the state of Mississippi. Reeves said all requests for assistance from impacted counties have been fulfilled at this point as local, state, and federal agencies are continuing to respond in the aftermath of the storms that made their way through Mississippi. MEMA has put updates over the last couple of days out that have detailed some of the widespread impacts across South Mississippi from Covington County down to the coast. In Covington County, they've identified approximately 10 sites with road and infrastructure damage and approximately 10 structures with minor impacts. There was a church there in Covington County that also reported water intrusion. Harrison County. At the peak of the flooding in Harrison County, at least 97 roads were closed, with 96 high water rescues that were made as the Biloxi River and other waterways hit record crests. One of the 10 wastewater treatment facilities operated by Harrison County Utility Authority sustained significant flood damage. In Stone County, a shelter remains open at Stone County Middle School for residents displaced by the flooding. 59 rescue and relocation missions were conducted there. MEMA has received reports of at least one business, plus 28 roads being damaged in the county. Jackson County, MDOT closed Highway 57 at Vestry because of flooding. Roads along the Pascagoula River west of Highway 613 saw water build up. The American Red Cross is in Jackson County providing support to displaced residents, and county crews are replenishing sandbags as needed. In Hancock County, you had 2 EF1 tornadoes that were confirmed to have touched down on Friday night. You want to talk about adding insult to injury? Pearl River County has identified 22 affected residences. They've reported minor damage to one business. 6 public roads and a publicly owned building impacted in Pearl River County as well. And while most of this is now in the rearview mirror and conditions have improved, state officials are urging residents to remain weather aware as additional rounds of rain and some severe weather remain possible. More than half of the state, in fact, about 3/4 of the state today, the northern 75% or so of Mississippi, has been placed by the National Weather Service under a marginal risk for severe weather today, this afternoon and into the evening specifically, with the possibility of isolated severe thunderstorms, damaging wind gusts, and flash flooding all possible. Yuck. Lance, I know you guys unpacked a lot of this last week as it was happening, but man, coast counties in particular, and then the counties just to the north of the 3 coast counties, I mean, it just rained and rained and rained and rained.
Well, you had that tropical depression, too, that just settled in, and it just didn't want to go anywhere. Man, the low-lying areas, man, that's always the worry you get is the hollers and the rivers backing up, and that's exactly what happened. When you start getting record water coming out of those rivers, man, it just starts backing up everywhere. And just hoping and praying that it'll subside quickly and life can get back to normal as soon as possible for everyone.
Yeah, it was a mess. We'll ask Jeremy England about that as well. He is from District 51 there in the southern part of the state of Mississippi. Get kind of an on-site update from what's happening there. Glad to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. I saw last night as I was going through, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I didn't even click on the story. I should have, but I didn't. But it was a prediction that Donald Trump made that Keir Starmer was going to have to resign. And his relationship with Starmer, not exactly what you would want between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, given our historic ties together as the greatest allies. President Trump does not suffer fools lightly, especially those he believes to be fools, and that is a pretty long and distinguished list. But honestly, I had not read as much about some of the craziness and some of the discontent that existed. Knew the elections back in May didn't go very well for the Labor Party, and the call for Starmer to step down, those calls grew louder and louder. But when I saw the post from the president yesterday, I thought, kind of feels like some bluster from Donald Trump. Turned out not to be that. Keir Starmer said earlier today that he is stepping down as leader of the governing Labor Party and is going to leave office within weeks, just barely 2 years after being elected in a landslide. Starmer said that he will remain caretaker prime minister, which I assume means he's not going to try to do anything other than just be the head of state until a new labor leader is chosen by the party. Starmer's in his sixth prime minister, is the sixth different prime minister in a decade for the UK. So you've got the Labor Party and the Conservative Party, and then you've got it's the Liberal Democrat or Democrat Liberal, which is actually kind of their middle of the road party in Britain. It is a much different political system. So the Labor is described as center-left, Conservative described as center-right, and then Liberal Democrats, which is the centrist party that champions civil liberties, constitutional reform, and internationalism. But they can call for your resignation, you step down, but then the party that is in charge gets to put a new prime minister in place. Not like you just go right back to the ballot box and have a chance for the ruling party to lose its stake there. It's quite the governing system. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. A pleasure to be with you on this Monday morning, start of a new week, June the 22nd. We are officially into summer. That started yesterday, though it has felt like summer for the last few weeks. We'll probably say we are officially into fall, coming up in 3 months, and go, yeah, but it still feels like summer.
Yeah. You know, the other day it was 100% humidity, and I always love it when you see that because I know what 100% humidity feels like, right? You walk outside and it's just water on you, but it was 100% humidity and you couldn't see 20 feet. And you're like, there has to be a higher level of 100%. I mean, that's like 400% humidity. You know, there is a level in which it actually is more humid than 100% here in the South. And I think we're dealing with that right now. I mean, everything's damp.
Yeah.
Moist, damp, sog, everything's just – need a few days of sunshine, man.
Absolutely. C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Love for you to join the conversation. And don't forget, C Spire has got this really cool plan going for you right now. It's called the One Plan. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience with zero compromises. You can save over $700 a year with 3 phone lines from C Spire compared to AT&T. This may be the coolest part. 5-year price lock. You pay one rate with no surprises, guaranteed for 5 years. So don't wait. Get the one plan today. Visit your local C Spire store or shop online now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. Walter comes in with the text that I was expecting. Everybody likes to talk about humidity. Dew point is what, Walter, I mean this in the most complimentary way possible. Dew point is what weather nerds focus on. Like, yeah, you can talk about the humidity all you want, but the dew point is really where it's at. Walter says if the dew point is above 70, it is miserable. I'm just curious if I can pull up the dew point for where I sit right now. I am here in Oxford in North Mississippi, where there is a 100% chance of heavy thunderstorms today. I see humidity at 88%. I don't see the dew point right now. Where do you go to find dew point? Is that a
temperature in
NOAA?
which air must be cooled to become completely saturated and moist with moisture? It says once air reaches this temp, it can no longer hold water as a gas, causing the excess water vapor to condense into liquid droplets like dew.
The current dew point in Oxford ranges from the low 70s to the mid 70s.
That's some technical stuff.
Interpreting local dew points below 55, dry and comfortable, 55 to 64, sticky and muddy, north of 65, oppressive heat with moisture.
Okay. That sounds like where we are.
Thank you, AI overview. All right, so last week we got the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran, including an immediate end to the war in Lebanon, well, between the United States and Iran, but also between the Israelis and Lebanon, which is actually kind of a misnomer because it's ongoing fighting between the Israelis and and Hezbollah, which is funded by Iran. It's Iranian proxy, which feels like a really important note with regard to you want to shut down the fighting between Israel and Lebanon? Because Israel and Lebanon themselves are not fighting. It's Hezbollah that's fighting on behalf of Iran based in Lebanon. And so if you're going to end that war, then Iran has got to stand down, with their funding and their direction for Hezbollah to screw the whole thing up. There is a piece of the MOU that's about respecting sovereignty and territorial integrity. 60 days starting yesterday, I suppose, for the final deal to be in place. The United States fully ending the naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran restoring safe shipping with no charges for 60 days for those passing through the strait. I do not understand the United States and others making a $300 billion investment into infrastructure in Iran. Now, the Trump administration has said, the United States isn't really doing this. I'm sorry, but I don't trust that. It feels like American dollars are going to flow to Iran for the rebuilding of their infrastructure. My question is why? We went to war. We bombed you because of what you were doing. It is not our responsibility to rebuild your country, but that's just me. An end of sanctions happening on an agreed-upon schedule. Iran agreeing to completely dismantle its nuclear program and disposal of stockpiled enriched uranium, and the U.S. making Iran's frozen funds available for use. So there are a couple of things that stand out here. One of them was the Iranian president yesterday saying we will never give up our God-given right to enrich uranium. Well, which is it? You've agreed to stop enriching uranium as part of the MOU, or you're not going to? See, there's part of me that says, when you tell me something, I'm going to believe you. And when the Iranian president goes, we're not going to stop enriching uranium, we're not giving up our right to do that, then it feels like a problem. Brent in Caledonia says, same thing we did with Germany post-World War II, right, in terms of rebuilding? Yes, but there was a very significant investment strategy that went along with that. And it was, Lance, you're better on this than I am, but it had to do with helping the German people more than it did the Nazi Party. The Nazi Party was out.
Yeah, and remember,
the IRGC is not out.
Yeah, and remember the battle for Berlin. You know, the communists were coming, and the West was to the left, the communists to the right, and so a lot of the money that flowed into the Marshall Plan was to battle, you know, the spread of communism through Eastern Europe, and hopefully not getting into Western Europe.
Because the communists were more than willing to pour money into that. Whoever it was that spent the money to rebuild was going to be the kind of the entity that became the rule in that part of the world.
Yes, sir.
So it was strategic. Is it strategic in Iran? I mean, in the absence of the United States and Gulf state partners pouring money into the infrastructure to rebuild Iran, is China going to do it? I don't think Russia's got the money to do it right now. It would not surprise me at all, though, if China said, oh, yes, we will help you rebuild your military infrastructure, your petroleum infrastructure, in exchange for cheap oil. And so there is an element of it's complicated that goes along with this. But it doesn't appear as if the negotiations are going all that well. High-level negotiations yesterday got started with J.D. Vance and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner all there. Lower-level talks are planned for the rest of the week as Iran and the United States agreed to create how about this? A deconfliction cell to address fighting in Lebanon. A statement from, just going to be honest with you, got a real problem with this. Meeting in Lucerne, Switzerland, with Pakistan and Qatar mediating the conversations. Statement from mediators. Pakistan and Qatar said the cell would include the Lebanese government and would ensure the adherence of the termination of military operations in Lebanon. Okay, great. That means Hezbollah has to stand down. Got to stand down. Will they? Do we think Iran wants Hezbollah to stand down? Do we think Iran has all of a sudden decided, oh yeah, we're not really worried about killing all the Jews anymore? What a mess. What a mess. But are gas prices coming down? Did you get all the nukes? Jeremy England joins us next. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Seabrook, from the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Destination unknown as we're pulling for some gas. Officially placed a poster reveals a smile from the pack. Elephants and acrobats, lion, snakes, monkey. Billy speaks righteous, Sister Cena says funky. How bizarre.
Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. Today is June 22nd. We are one day into summer. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic. It's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take the time to listen to you and discuss any questions that you may have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they're part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit in person or online at communitybank.net. Happy to welcome our first guest of the new week. Senator Jeremy England stops in this morning. Senator, always a pleasure to visit. Thanks so much for some time.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me on this morning. Looking forward to talking with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with kind of the news of the weekend late last week, and that is all of the weather that has inundated South Mississippi. A lot of flooding, a lot of road closures, some damage, storm shelters that have been open. Where are things on this Monday morning in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so we're still pretty wet down here. We had that one good cold front come through. I guess earlier last week, and then, we're all saying not again. We've got another one coming in with this tropical weather. And look, I had just cut the grass, and it'll be a week and a half before I can do that again down here. So it definitely dumped buckets of water. In Jackson County, at least in southern parts of Jackson County, we were pretty fortunate that the water was able to move on out. The ditches were working well, and it got on out to the Gulf after the high tide moved out. That was another problem, by the way. We had this storm hit with the high tide, with wind pushing the water in, and that's something that always, increases the water level here. But North Jackson County, Harrison County, Stone County, they got hit really hard. I mean, they were shutting down highways and roads left and right, and I saw the Cajun Navy was, of course, over here helping folks out. But all of that seems to be moving on out now. We still have some rivers starting to crest, but our emergency departments down here, they're excellent at this. I mean, they're great. They've done training throughout the year to keep them ready for this. And we have local churches and other people already setting up to help people that are flood victims with different supplies and food and things that they need. So it's like clockwork down here in hurricane zone when we have something like this happen, and we're going to get through it.
Yeah. I guess to some degree, this is at least some of the water that would go along with a hurricane without the devastating winds that kind of go along with that.
Yeah, that's right. Winds weren't very bad with this little tropical storm, but when that rain hit, I mean, again, the ground was already wet from the weather system we had come through earlier in the week. And I mean, it just didn't stop. It was just raining in buckets. And creeks were already high. We had that drought earlier this year, so the ground's already kind of hard. So that water just flows right into the creeks and the ditches, and with the high tide coming in, and it can't go out like it usually does down here. We saw some streets up to the top of the stop sign level, the street signs in neighborhoods. So it got bad. Yeah.
Certainly a mess to clean up all across the southern part of the state, but thankfully not worse than it actually was. We sometimes call this the off season, right? The time after the legislature finishes its work in Jackson for the year, and then kind of looking toward the year in both the House and the Senate. We've seen study groups that have been put together by leadership. I guess the biggest conversation during these summer months leading into the fall is about redistricting. But there's a whole lot more than that going on. So let's at least briefly touch on the redistricting conversation. What are you hearing in terms of a special session, when that might happen? I know we had the letter from the Secretary of State a couple of weeks ago that said, hey, this is what it's going to take for us to get ready for any changing of district lines. What are you hearing right now?
Yeah, so of course the Calais case obviously changed things. We can, it's unconstitutional to gerrymander based on race, and then we had that the federal court in 2025 made us redraw our legislative districts with the stated purpose of drawing two new majority-minority districts. So that's now unconstitutional under Calais, and we're kind of in a holding pattern waiting to see what that court does. I think there's a chance that they may vacate that order and get us back to the other maps that we had in 2022 that we voted on, which, by the way, only 7 dissenters on that set of maps. So, I mean, it was a pretty good bipartisan map there. And so I think it's good that Secretary Watson is using that as kind of a benchmark to go ahead and look ahead to that being a possibility. But if we don't get that, Richard, we probably will have to go back for a special session, maybe sometime in the fall, because next year's election year. And if we're going to redraw our legislative districts and qualifying starts on January 1st, we need maps that we're going to use and go forward with by that time, or else we're going to have to completely redo everything. So I think we'll see something like that. I don't know that we'll get into congressional redistricting. I certainly don't think we will during a special session, but we'll probably look at those U.S. congressional districts next year, and then the Supreme Court districts if we have to. But the special will probably be focused on our state legislative districts if the governor chooses to call one.
And the Supreme Court districts are actually interesting because one of the sitting Supreme Court justices, Justice Ishii, has been drawn out of a district. Like his district doesn't exist. The way the terms actually run is interesting. He's going to serve for another year, but wouldn't there have to be some sort of a special election called if that district is redrawn to once again exist?
Yes. Yeah. As I understand it, Judge Ishii wasn't even able to qualify.
Because he's a man without a home.
That's right. Right. Issued an injunction. And that's an odd situation that we're in. And it's just when courts try to jump in and do what, look, redistricting, I'm a legislator, so I'll say this, redistricting is a legislative job. And anytime courts start, tinkering with it, it really doesn't help. And it doesn't take into all the factors that we have to take into account. But yeah, it left Judge Ishii there without a home, and that's not good. We don't want that happening, especially when we have elections coming up and it's time for him to qualify and get rolling. And I feel bad for judges. They have to run for a full year. They don't get that primary break like we do. So they've got it tough, and we just need to get that done.
I want to go back. And forgive me for belaboring the point. The letter from the Secretary of State, from Michael Watson, said our plan is to go back to the 2022 districts. Lieutenant Governor even pointed out to me at one point, he's like, we probably need to look at those as well, because the law that was in place that put those 22 districts into place was a law by which we're not going anymore, that maybe there was some racial gerrymandering even in those districts. But you said a second ago, most everybody was pretty much in favor of those 22 district lines that were drawn. So could it be that the maps were good enough without having to go back and redraw those?
It could be, but what it would probably take is us coming back and still voting on those lines, but just not looking at things like BVAP, which is black voting age population,
right?
Because that's racial gerrymandering, which is now unconstitutional under Calais. And there was some of that discussion. I had some very big debates with people, and I think that the problem in Mississippi, and it's not really a problem, it's just what has happened. You see the party lines have kind of fallen along race lines, and so how do we deal with that? And look, I'm proud of the Republican Party has really been doing a lot of more minority outreach under our current leadership there with the state party. And that's the way I think we need to approach that. And then that way, even when we quit looking at VVAP and with things like that, we focus on policy, and we get out of this identity politics situation that really is just driving everybody apart. It's keeping us from having good conversations. So I think this is going to be a good thing in the long term. But to answer your original question, yes, we did look at things like VVAP when we drew those 2022 maps, and there is a chance that we have to completely start afresh.
During a legislative session, sometimes bills end up on the governor's desk. He signs them into law, but they don't immediately go into law. There's a little bit of a holding period. July 1 is the time when those new laws go into effect. What is happening in a week and change that is most significant in your mind as far as new legislation enacted into law?
Yeah, so we have, I'm elections chairman, so I'll tell you a few that we have to deal with that have to deal with that. Number one, if you go to vote, absentee vote in person, previously you had to put that ballot in an envelope and drop it in the envelope with your name on it, sign across the flap. Representative Noah Sanford, who's my counterpart in the House, he drafted a bill last year to get rid of the envelope. So now you're going to go in, show your ID, and you'll cast your ballot right into the machine. So you're going to know that your ballot is secret. You're going to know that your ballot gets cast. And then my favorite part of it is at 7 p.m. on Election Day, they tabulate that machine so we get instant results. We don't have to worry about the wait that we see like in California and things like that, where people start wondering what's going on. We're going to have our election results from those in-person absentee votes. So that's a good thing. Of course, the teacher pay raise was a hot topic this past year. And because of, different budgetary items and politics getting involved, there were different numbers thrown around, but we still were able to give teachers a $2,000 pay raise. And that includes teachers' assistants, which was very important. A lot of the teachers the pay raise we gave a couple of years ago, they were asking for their assistants to get pay raises. We were able to do that.
We'll continue the conversation with Senator Jeremy England on the other side of this time out. Oh, by the way, Colombia, the country of had elections, 25 million ballots, 99.8% counted in under 3 hours.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. I've noticed that the Secretary of Agriculture here in Mississippi, Andy Gibson, who is a candidate for governor, has released a new album. It's called God Bless America. It's available on all the streaming platforms that are out there. So if you want to check that out, you can do so. Senator Jeremy England, I'm curious when your God Bless America album is coming out.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We're trying to find the right voice and the right tone to get that together.
I mean, America 250 is close. Like you're running out of time.
That's right. Look, I'll be patriotic maybe without releasing the album.
Okay, that is fair. But Andy Gibson's album "God Bless America" is out for all the tracks. We'll have to. Lance, we might have to work that into some of the,
definitely.
The bump music.
I played a couple over the. He put out his last gospel album. I actually have a copy in the office, man.
There you go. I like it very much.
He's a great singer. He's talented.
He is, and not afraid to grab the mic at all.
That's right.
Not at all. We were talking about things that are going into effect July 1st, and you were talking about the teacher pay raise and the teacher assistant pay raise. There's some that said it didn't go far enough, but the legislature certainly acting. Is that something that will be an ongoing conversation as we look at teacher salaries across Mississippi? There's a lot that has been done for education in Mississippi in recent years, including fully funding the state's education budget. What can you continue to do for teachers and teacher assistants?
Yeah, so Richard, I think we've given teachers between $7,000 and $8,000 over maybe the past 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. Now we're kind of we've been looking at PERS, how we can, shore that up and make that a long-term, we've got like a $26 billion unfunded liability with PERS. We're trying to address that. So that's been something teachers have been looking at very heavily. We were able to make some changes to that this year as well. We took it down from 35 years to 30 years. We also allow retired teachers to come back and I think make 80% of their salary after they retire. And they don't have to wait the 90 days. They can come back, I think, 30 days after that and start working. So those are some of our best teachers, and we're hoping to keep them here, have them work, still get their retirement. And then they're also helping PERS by doing that. So there's different things we've done there. But look, we're always going to have, every time we raise our teacher salaries, other states around us are going to raise theirs. Yeah. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation, but we're always going to look at it. I mean, we want to look, we're doing incredible things in education. I'll tell you, I was in Pittsburgh just a couple of weeks ago, and I sat down next to this family that was from Massachusetts, I believe, maybe New Hampshire. They asked me where I was from, and I told them, I said, you guys are doing great things in education right now. These weren't even politicos. They were just regular people. So I mean, the word is out that we're doing good things here, and the teachers deserve the credit for 99% of that.
IHL had its June board meeting last Thursday, and they approved a funding formula through NCHIMS, a consulting company that they've used for that. A lot of conversation around performance-based funding. You've got an undergraduate degree from Mississippi State, a law degree from Ole Miss. You live in a part of the state where there are a ton of Southern Miss grads. I don't know that this is a conversation that your constituents are talking about on a day-to-day basis, but there are a lot of people that are looking closely at this in Mississippi in terms of what makes sense in terms of, with funding going forward for our colleges and universities. Any just high-level thoughts with a couple of minutes before the break?
Yeah, real quickly, I like performance-based funding because it makes sure that universities are turning out good students, that those students are going to work and they're doing things with their degrees. And that goes to show you that the money that we're spending, our state taxpayer dollars that we're spending on our public universities, is going to good use. So I think that's a great idea. It's going to get us away from some of these other degrees. I think just to have a, quote unquote liberal teacher on staff to teach, feminine literature from Russia or whatever you want to say. And, those kind of, and look, no offense to any of the people that love that out there. There's probably some, but, performance-based, we get people to work and we make sure that Mississippi continues to grow with the state taxpayer dollars that we're putting into our public universities. So look, I want people to come to Mississippi and get whatever education they want. But they need to be productive with it. They need to show something with it because those buildings, those desks are sitting in, a lot of the scholarships are getting, those are state taxpayer dollars that we're making an investment in those students. So I'm glad to see IHL moving towards some performance-based criteria.
One of the last things I'll ask you about, or I guess the last thing, we've only got a minute until the break, the conversation around school district consolidation. Is that something that, it's been bandied about for years and years and years with nothing ever coming of it? Is the legislature ready to tackle that in the upcoming session?
I think so, but I do know that, speaking for me, and I think a lot of us, we would rather that happen on the local level and have these school districts come to us and say, look, we're willing to do what they did in Oktibbeha County and in other counties where they've had success. We're going to, bring these school districts together and move forward with it. If they don't do it, we're going to have to do something because, again, we're trying to make sure that the most money gets directly to the student in the classroom. And when you have too many districts, some districts for only a couple of schools and a couple of hundred students, those can be consolidated. It's not going to be politically popular in the areas, but sometimes we have to make unpopular decisions that are best for everybody.
Senator Jeremy England, thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Good morning, everybody.
Time to wake up.
Time to shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, 8 o'clock hour. An abrupt end to the music.
No, that was just perfect timing on your part. That's what a professional sounds like.
We nailed it. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Mornings presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. The Neshoba County Fair, Mississippi's giant house party, is back and bigger than ever, and SuperTalk Mississippi will be there at Founders Square on Wednesday and Thursday next week. One of the biggest events of the year, and you don't want to miss it. Our coverage of the Neshoba County Fair is brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them the options. It's also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag, equipment that works as hard as the people running it. Thanks for joining us this morning. Today is Monday, June 22nd. Got a joke for you, Lance.
Bring it on.
Do you know what an eclipse? Son says to his dad, "Hey, Dad, do you know what an eclipse is?" The dad says, "No, son."
Okay, I was like, all right, where's this? Oh, there we go. That's
yeah. Let you think on that one for a second, just in case you need to. Just in case you need an extra second. Great to be back with you today. Enjoyed the time off over the last week. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. The one plan from C Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromises. Get started now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. George in Greenwood sent us a message earlier. Said Mr. Keir Starmer, who has announced his resignation as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has been exposed to the nation, the UK that is, as having betrayed the trust that the criminal justice system places in prosecutors. He has proved himself to be a feckless coward and an unmasculine man. Which is the bigger insult? Feckless or unmasculine?
Yeah, I'd take the unmasculine. Pretty good cut down there.
Yeah. Has there ever been a more glaring case of it's Trump's idea, therefore it is a bad idea, than the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C.? It's 2,000 feet long and what? A couple hundred feet wide? It's a really big 3-foot body of water.
That's the one like Forrest Gump ran through, isn't it? When he was hollering at Jenny. Jenny!
President Trump's frustrated with some of the reactions to it. It's the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pond. He said yesterday that multiple people had been arrested for vandalism and that the pond would need to be drained for repairs. So if by chance you have, I don't know, anything going on in your life that you feel like is more important than this and you've missed the story altogether, I don't know how you could have, but Trump administration said, we're going to clean up D.C. It's our nation's capital. It should be more presentable to Americans and the world than it is right now. We have national monuments and areas around national monuments that are in disrepair, that are ugly, that just need to be cleaned up, that need maintenance that is done to them. There are lots of people that have said, oh, it was a no-bid contract that you handed out. It clearly cost more than the Trump administration initially admitted it was going to cost. But the biggest kerfuffle in all of this has been the color of the basin. And Trump said, we'll go with an American flag blue basin. It earlier was kind of a dead gray. But the bigger problem in all of this was you had all these algae blooms that were growing in it. Some of them are almost unavoidable because it is a 3-foot deep reflecting pool, which means the water is going to be warm, and warm water spawns algae.
I need to call the catfish farmers in Mississippi, put some aerators in that thing.
I don't know if that's exactly the look that they want with like the tumbler where it's just bubbling water.
We can put a man on the moon, but we can't figure that one out.
Well,
I'm kidding around.
And so they put in this blue paint-in liner, and people are going just nuts over the color. This is supposed to be a reflective, not like just like a mirror, but like a place where you can sit and reflect on all that is good in your life.
Or protest if you want.
Weren't there some Vietnam protests that happened in the pool?
I think so.
Isn't that where some of them bathed?
Yeah, I think.
Jenny! But when they put all the water back in, you got the algae bloom all over again almost immediately. And they put a bunch of hydrogen peroxide in there to try and kill the algae and vacuum it out. And it's just on and on and on. But now there's a report that somebody took a knife blade and put a 250-foot-long gash into the facade. Trump says that the reflecting pool may have to be drained and repaired at cost, and now they're saying anybody caught vandalizing really going to be in trouble. They're going to prosecute them. Anybody caught vandalizing federal property is could be fined $250,000 and sentenced to up to 10 years in prison. Minor damage could get you a year in prison with a $100,000 fine. And Trump said vandals had destroyed the grass around the pool as well. Now, there's other grass that was destroyed on the ellipse and the White House lawn, but they knew that was going to be destroyed and they were going to replace it in the aftermath of the big MMA fight. By the way, that turned into a... People were fighting about the weather. Like, the forecast wasn't great. It was humid and it was hot and there was a chance of thunderstorms. And then it turned out to be fantastic for the event itself, right? Did you watch it, Lance?
I watched the later stuff. Yeah.
Yeah?
It got kind of a little late in the evening.
Did you think it was great?
Oh, it was a really well done event, too. And as the storms got close to the UFC fight, they just kind of split, and one went one way, one went the other, and had great weather for it. And Trump,
who knew Sardis Lake was right outside the White House? That's what it does to storms that are making their way toward Oxford a lot of times.
Well, and I think the president said, that the good Lord had done it for him, and it was funny listening to Rogan talk about how convicted Trump was in that belief as he was explaining it to Joe. He's like, "Look up there, God's doing this," and Joe's like, "He believes this." I mean, he's 100% on board with it.
So, as it pertains to the reflecting pool, you remember that wasn't she was Judge Jeanine on TV, or she was just a Fox analyst. Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, said that her office would prosecute individuals caught vandalizing the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Anyone who is in a position of vandalizing or attempting to vandalize the reflecting pool will face the criminal justice system in D.C. Look, the president has made it a priority to make D.C. not only safe, but beautiful. Not $15 million spent on the reflecting pool, repainting its surface blue and repairing leaks. So it was leaking, and the filtration system didn't work, and it was a mess. And they cleaned it up. Somebody said again on the C Spire text line, just a nothing burger. I'm with you. How bad do you have to hate Donald Trump, though, to be like, you know what, we're going to vandalize this thing. We're going to make our point. It's like the people that go and throw a can of paint at a painting. You're just a terrible person.
No, I would say, I don't know if it's hatred of Donald Trump as much as it is just hatred of themselves.
Yeah, but if Barack Obama had gone down the road of completely fixing the reflecting pool, you think you would have had a bunch of Barack Obama haters throwing algae bombs into the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool?
Well, if it would have turned out like his presidential library, I don't know.
I hadn't seen that anybody's vandalized that yet, and it looks like
it's like a tombstone.
It's one of the nicer ways you could describe it. Walter says with all the cameras and surveillance, they should have no problem finding the vandals. Yeah. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. JT Mitchell will join us about 20 minutes from right now. More coming up with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you? Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. If you would like to be part of the conversation, we encourage you to do so on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. Vice President J.D. Vance has stepped to the podium in Switzerland? Lucerne, where they are having Lucerne. These, yeah. That's a place I'd like to visit.
Heck, yeah. Go get my gold.
Yeah. Is that where you keep your gold?
That's where my gold is, yeah. And numbered account.
Mm-hmm. J.D. Vance said earlier today that peace talks with Iran created a good foundation for a successful final deal to end the war that began at the end of February. His comments came after he and Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, wrapped up a lengthy round of initial talks aimed at solidifying a permanent end to the war between the countries. Don't you? The war needs to end. Period. I think that the United States is trying to negotiate in good faith. The problem is, or at least one of the problems in this, as I see it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, and this is not new, we've talked about this. You're trying to negotiate in good faith with the president of Iran, but he controls the Iranian army. He doesn't control the IRGC. The mullahs, the hardliners are the ones that are in control there, and it's the IRGC that is funding the proxy terrorist groups. Somebody corrected me earlier when I said, Hezbollah was a proxy. He said, stop calling them a proxy. They are Iran's army. Yeah, but you've got to call them a proxy because this is different than the normal Iranian army. Now, ultimately, are they all tied together? Maybe so. But I genuinely believe that there are people in Iran, including people in positions of leadership, that are ready for this war to end and are willing to sacrifice. They're willing to sacrifice some of the things that maybe they've believed in the past to get the war across the finish line and have a more stable country. But how do you negotiate with the hardliners who continue to say, we will not give up ever our right to enrich uranium? Death to America, death to Israel, death to the... How do you negotiate with that? There is only one language that they understand without an interpreter, and that is force. And I don't even know that they care about the ramifications of force. What was it you saw last week where Iran was like, yeah, we're not digging out the nuclear material. The United States will have to do that. It's buried like 85 feet below the ground because of all the bombing they did. I just don't understand how you negotiate with somebody that you cannot believe a single word that comes out of their mouth. And J.D. Vance, in his press conference today, was trying to describe what millennials call trash talk. And he said, I tried to tell the Iranian leaders, if you go online and trash talk, then you can't expect the President of the United States not to respond. That's where we are. Well, I said this on X, and he said this on X. Markwayne Mullen, who is now the Secretary of DHS, was on with Maria
Bartiromo?
Maria Bartiromo. And he was talking about, so when you hold an international competition that is as big as the World Cup is, you have people coming in from all over the world. Go figure, our adversaries would use something like the World Cup as a way to try and bring bad guys into the United States. Here's Mark Wayne Mullen with Maria Bartiromo yesterday morning talking about just that.
Sneak in through our northern, not southern border, because President Trump's policies have closed the southern border. So our northern border, we've seen our arrests go up daily on Iranian nationals, and we have a good partnership with our Canadian partners that have been able to help apprehend them too. But it's worrisome because the amount of influx we see and the amount of connections we have when we capture the people that they have direct ties to the IRGC, which IRGC is not the regular army of Iran. The IRGC is the true believers of this radical regime. And fortunately, because of our strength zero policies that we have underneath President Trump, we're able to capture the individuals coming across.
So do we know if those people trying to come through the U.S.'s northern border are being directed by the IRGC, or are they people fleeing from Iran?
Most of the individuals have ties directly to the IRGC.
Wow.
Listen, it's hard to get out of the country of Iran unless you have a path to do so. We're also seeing this with the games they're playing with FIFA. You know, we're still hosting the World Cup, and Iran has a team that's playing. And in fact, the team is playing today in LA. Most teams travel with around 120 people. That's their support staff, doctors, coaches, everybody else that comes along with them and their delegation. We accepted 53 individuals coming in. The rest of the individuals that Iran had tried to bring in also had direct ties to the RRGC and aren't their normal traveling group. So these games that Iran plays.
And look, there's a little bit of a kind of a dust-up and some complaining by the Iranian national soccer team that after their first World Cup match, they had to get on a bus, go to the airport, and fly to Mexico, which is where their training facility is. And they're like, oh, you can't ask them to do this right after a match. We're like, yeah. In fact, we're actually not asking. We're telling you this is how it's going to be. So 53 people in the official travel party, and then all of these extra, all with ties to the IRGC. And it really is interesting when you hear Mark Wayne Mullen talk about the northern border, right? Because when we talk about, when we have, for the most part, talked about illegal immigration, it's been in relation to the southern border. We know that the southern border has been closed, and you've had basically no illegal immigration coming through the southern border during the Trump administration. This round, that was priority number one. They got after it, and it went from a gushing fire hydrant to a trickling faucet to basically no water. One of the things during campaign season that President Trump talked about prior to being elected to his second term was, we got to close the northern border also. Because as much, for all of the, in his words, rapists and drug dealers and bad guys that were coming across the southern border, there was a lot of concern about much of the fentanyl that was coming across and other illicit drugs were coming across the northern border. And it was almost like, Lance, is this I don't know if this is the right way to describe it or not, but it was almost like the southern border was blue collar and the northern border was more white collar.
I think that's a great way of putting it, yeah.
It's like the rank and file, the riffraff was coming across the southern border, but the people that were coming across the northern border were doing just as much damage. They just maybe looked a little different than those who were coming across from Mexico into the United States. And Mark Wayne Mullen says, in a partnership with Canada, they have had a good deal of success arresting Iranian nationals trying to get into the United States. I'm sure just because they want to watch soccer. Couldn't be any other reason, right?
Yeah, of course.
For those of you listening online or on the SuperTalk app this morning because of an issue with your local SuperTalk radio affiliate, we apologize. We do thank you for finding us. Please note that our engineering team is working hard. Some of the weather that we have had come through has wreaked havoc on some of our towers, and we are trying to get everything back up and running as quickly as is possible. JT Mitchell joins us next, news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team.
From the Seabrook.com.
Good morning. Good morning to you there. Okay, up and at 'em.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and of course on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. It's brought to you every day by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. JT Mitchell joins us right now. He is the news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team. Good to see you this morning, my friend.
Richard, what's up, man? I missed you last week.
Well, I missed you too.
Well, I appreciate that.
Enjoyed a little bit of time away, but certainly glad to be back as well. And on the heels of Father's Day weekend, off and rolling on... it's not the only thing that's off and rolling. The Neshoba County Fair is off and rolling, and Wednesday and Thursday of this week are the days when all of the political speeches happen. It feels like I'm interested to hear what is said in those speeches this year from our statewide elected officers, but it feels like this is an appetizer for 2027 Neshoba County Fair, which has a chance to be firework inducing, maybe?
Yes. Maybe it's an entree for 2027 and an appetizer for November's elections. Jeremy England, State Senator Jeremy England, he kind of got my PSA done for me, but November 3rd is congressional midterms, 134 days away.
Mm-hmm.
Polls will be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, I know that
put
makes
it on
you
your
chuckle
calendar.
A little bit. Put it on your calendar. Put my name by it. Please go vote. If you don't vote, you cannot complain. But there's going to be a lot of storylines out of Neshoba. I hope you got some R&R, Richard, because it's going to be busy. Talk about the appetizer. You are going to have congressional challengers in the districts that apply, because you have to remember that not everybody can speak at Neshoba. You either have to be statewide or represent Neshoba County itself. But congressional candidates like Scott Colomb and Michael Chiaradio. Scott Colomb is running for U.S. Senate. Michael Chiaradio for U.S. House District 3. They'll have unfettered access to some of the voting base because our people up in D.C. are going to have to vote next week. They have voting obligations or this week, and they will not be at Neshoba. So you won't hear from our current congressional delegation, but you will get a chance to hear from some of their challengers. And then, like you said, Richard, the entree is that all of these current elected officials, most of whom are running for something next year, will get a chance to speak as well.
Yeah. And if there's anybody that's not speaking, they are likely to be there and milling about, and hopefully we'll have a chance to visit with some of them. You mentioned two names in particular, Michael Chiaradio and Scott Colomb, who are both scheduled to be on with us on Wednesday morning. So we'll have a chance to visit with them and look forward to that.
And let me say real quick, that's the cool thing about what your show does. You'll be there in the morning. You'll be able to provide access from Neshoba to people who either don't want to be there or can't be there. Because you're going to have Scott Colomb and Michael Chiaradio on the show before they actually go on stage. And so you'll get some insight. The listeners out there will get some insight into what they might say. But it's going to be big. Wednesday, June 24th and Thursday, June 25th is when the political speaking is, each day from 9:30 a.m. until around 11. But you can catch the candidates beforehand with Richard Cross.
Nathan says I better bring my rubber boots, that the mud this year is pretty bad.
It's going to be muddy. It already is muddy. Usually it is very hot and very red. This year, you may get a little bit of a break from the heat, but it's going to be very red and very wet.
And the horse races, as on Seinfeld says, he's a mutter.
Yeah.
His mother's a mutter. That's what it's going to take.
Wear the duck boots. We have a couple guys from the newsroom, Caleb Sailors and Griffin Ray, who will be on site this week, and we were talking about attire. Anything you don't mind turning red. And do not wear nice shoes.
There you go. Heartbreaking story out of Senatobia last week that included an officer-involved shooting and a 1-year-old dying. Trying to keep up with this when I was out was a little bit difficult. It started with a shoplifting complaint and a command from police for the person to stop. They didn't. They were trying to flee in a vehicle. Shots were fired into the vehicle. Ultimately, this 1-year-old child was hit and succumbed and has died. You have investigations. You have protests. You have Walmart that's been closed at least for some amount of time. JT, what can you tell us about kind of where this story is now?
Yeah, so it was a week from yesterday when this happened, and details have slowly started to come out. You got most of them there. Now, the mother of the child, Cohen Wiley, who he unfortunately was killed in this shooting, she said that they were stealing diapers. Whether that's worth knowing or not, either way, police are saying that whoever was driving the vehicle tried to hit the officers. That's what resulted in one of the officers with Senatobia PD pulling the trigger. That officer has been placed on administrative leave as the investigation continues. Now there's been uproar. There has been plenty of uproar from portions of the community over the past week. We saw protests earlier last week. We saw some protesters, some demonstrators get tear gassed. And then this past weekend, there were more protests. And the Senatobia Walmart closed for a short amount of time. I called them yesterday morning to see if they were back open. I did not get an answer, but it did end up reopening Sunday and is open today. But then also over the weekend, Richard, they had the funeral for Cohen Wiley, the 1-year-old, yesterday.
Is this one of those stories that can be multiple things at once? It can be tragic, it can be preventable, but preventable on both sides?
I look forward to seeing what the investigation shows, but I believe that is a proper way to attribute it because that's what investigations are for. Investigations are there to find who was wrong, and I don't even think right can be used necessarily, but what happened, was it legal, was it not? That's what the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is currently doing, and, they have their hands full with this case because any officer-involved shooting gets some sort of coverage, but when it comes to a death, it gets more coverage. And then especially when it comes to the death of a young, helpless child, it gets even more coverage. And so this has become a national story. Commissioner Tyndall with DPS had a press conference last week, and he just begged people to be patient. He said, please just let the investigation play out, and let's see where we end up.
Anytime MBI is involved, the results of the investigation are turned over to the Attorney General's office, and then the investigation, or if there are any charges to be handed down, proceed from there. And again, it was difficult trying to kind of gather information and understand. But like your initial reaction to this, and I know you don't want to editorialize on this, that this is a situation where the facts have to handle themselves. You're like, you look at this though, and you go, there's so many ways this could have not happened. If it was, as maybe has been reported, they were stealing diapers. Well, you got caught, and there probably will be a relatively small penalty for shoplifting. And it could have stopped there. Could this have ended up in some sort of a chase where you don't have to fire into a car with occupants? Possibly so. And you could have gotten to the end with an arrest with more serious charges than just shoplifting. But then there also is this where you go, okay, a vehicle barreling toward a police officer, a vehicle becomes a deadly weapon. And when faced with a deadly weapon, officers are taught to defend themselves as well. And so it's like there are just so many points in this story where it feels like the outcome could have been different.
From both sides.
From both sides. And you just wonder where it'll go. And we will try to keep you up to date with any news that comes out of this. SuperTalk News will do so as more information becomes available. It's a tragic story, though.
You used a lot of good adjectives at the beginning. You know, I think there's a lot of adjectives from both sides that can describe this story.
Yeah. We talked about it some earlier this morning. We will get back to some of the damage numbers related to Tropical Storm Arthur's remnants that have just dumped copious amounts of water on the southern part of the state. We've had flooding issues. Jeremy England told us this morning that things are better than they have been, and we will get you up to date on that. JT Mitchell, news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, joining us in studio as he does every Monday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back with you to wrap up the Monday edition of the show on this 22nd day of June 2026, right after this.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
If I only had a dollar for every song I sung, every time I had to play while people sat there drunk, you know I'd catch the next train back to where
Thanks for joining us this morning as we wrap things up on the Monday morning edition of Mornings with Richard Cross alongside JT Mitchell and Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard. Glad to have you along for the ride. So the remnants of Arthur were not kind to the southern part of the state of Mississippi, not just the three coast counties, or not just the three counties on the coast that run along the Gulf, but counties to their north as well. It was a massive mess last week and through the weekend, and not 100% out of the woods yet.
No, we're not. Senator England did give good news, though. He confirmed that some of those rivers are receding. We heard the same from MEMA last night, that rivers and creeks, especially in the southern part of the state, are beginning to recede. But like you said, we're not out of the woods yet. There is honestly, looking at the map here, if you live in or north of Hattiesburg or in or north of Macomb, you are under a severe weather threat through 10 p.m. tonight. That could include damaging winds, hail up to a quarter size, tornadoes cannot be ruled out, thunderstorms, of course. So once again, if you live in or north of Macomb, in or north of Hattiesburg, there could be severe weather today. I guess the silver lining is that the coastal region is out of this. That's good because they got hit pretty bad over the weekend, Richard.
There is a storm system that is over southwestern Arkansas right now that is moving to the east and is actually sliding to the south a little bit. There's, I guess, some air out of the north that's pushing it a little farther south. Pretty severe line of thunderstorms. A lot of that breaks up as it comes across the Mississippi River, and maybe some of that severe weather chance going down a little bit, but you're right. North of Hattiesburg, certainly north of Jackson, you got a chance to see a pretty significant amount of rain at different points throughout the day.
I don't know if you saw some of the flood victims that were put on SuperTalk News' X and Facebook accounts, or really any of the videos that were floating around this weekend, whether it's your local TV stations or other radio stations. But the flooding was bad in certain parts of the state. I mean, if you go to supertalk.fm right now, you can see some flooding in Stone County. Thankfully, no injuries there. You can see some flooding just created a massive sinkhole in Covington County. And so we are starting to get some damage numbers in from MEMA. Right now, I think it's hovering around 30 structures statewide, but those numbers are going to go up in terms of damage. They will go up as more assessments continue.
Governor said that all of the requests for local, state, and federal aid at this point have been fulfilled, right?
That's correct. And there were a lot of high water rescue missions. The Biloxi River hit an all-time crest. In Harrison County alone, 96 people were rescued from flooding. And I know we had examples like that across the state, the southern part of the state at least. So, yes, it is getting better out there, but just continue to be weather aware. Because, Richard, this is an example of it doesn't have to have a name for it to be pretty rough. Tropical Storm Arthur was no longer Tropical Storm Arthur when we started getting the impacts.
Yeah. What are you guys and gals in the newsroom watching this week as we move forward?
Well, like Senator England said, we're still waiting on word if there's going to be a special session. But it sounds like everybody who has come on your program believes there will be a special session. Pretty much everybody I've spoken to outside of the station also believes there will be a special session. It's just a matter of time. And that would be, of course, on redistricting, not necessarily congressional, but more so legislative.
Right.
Because you got some deadlines to meet there. You got a qualifying period that begins in January, and you got elections next year. So that's the map lawmakers are going to have to get after. But I know the redistricting conversation may have gotten old for a lot of people, but there's a lot of maps to redraw, or at least our lawmakers are planning to redraw. So we're keeping our eyes out on that. And then some other stories, this one is kind of off the wall. It was not on my bingo card on Friday. Did you see that Kendrick Perkins was hired by Jackson State?
I did.
That's one of your colleagues, right?
Well, kind of.
Loosely. That is crazy to me. NBA veteran turned broadcaster Kendrick Perkins is going to be the next general manager of the Jackson State men's basketball team. That's a sentence that if you told me on Thursday, I'd be like, you just made that up. I don't know. But that is a crazy good hire, you would think at least. It's a big name hire. Jackson State is becoming one of these HBCUs that they figured it out. Get a big name in for a few years, like Deion Sanders, like Mo Williams, and let it ride.
Yeah. We will see where that goes and what fruit it bears for Jackson State in the years to come in basketball.
And he's also going to teach in the journalism department. He'll serve as a mentor.
Okay. Well, good to know. Thanks for being with us on this Monday morning, JT. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Lance.
Thanks, Lance. Good to be back with you this morning, and great to be back with you as well. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, just after 6 o'clock. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Have a great Monday.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.